Welcome to episode number 82 of Breaking Business Barriers. Can't wait to introduce a really special guest. His name is Coach Dale Young. We'll get into Coach's background here in just a moment. But before that, this is Brent Duhaime, your host, along with Jared Ty, also known as Bio Ty, because he sells real estate and a lot of it, and he does a great job out there. So JT, good to see you. I hope you're doing well, man. What's been shaking? You're sitting in a new office space, right?
Yeah, it's cold outside, and I'm in a new space. This historic building my wife and I bought for her photography studio. So downtown McKinney, man, life is good.
That is good, and it's pretty cool. So I think you still have one more office space to lease out, so we don't want to forget about that.
We do, yeah. We have a large office. If you know anyone looking, that's 1,200 a month, about 450 square feet. So
Well, let's also give thanks to Open Media Source and American Option Insurance. You can find them on the old internet. Just give them a look. If you're looking for some insurance, you can always reach out to Brandon Straza at American Option Insurance. So appreciate those folks. But first and foremost, Coach Dale, where can our listeners most readily find you on the interweb?
Oh, I'm all over the place. So CoachDale.com, Dale at CoachDale.com for email, Facebook, Coach Dale Young, or LinkedIn, Coach Dale. So trying to be consistent as much as I can.
All over the place. And if we're not visible on the interweb, we're invisible, right? As people
right.
in our types of business.
That's right. Yep. But if you follow Facebook, my Facebook page, Coach Dale Young, or if you follow the LinkedIn, there's stuff happening on there multiple times per week. So I do a thing called Music Monday, and I do a thing called Friday Funnies, and so and all that's just to entertain people.
that's awesome. Dale, what do you do on the Music Monday? That sounds cool.
Well, I'm a big Christian, and so it's always a Christian song, and I always try and choose a video that has the lyrics embedded in it because I really get into the lyrics a lot. So,
Nice.
and so it just, I've been doing Christian playlists since 2011, so an annual one, and so it's onto digital and now
Brent and
onto
I
the
are
web,
both big
right?
music fans, so we'll have to check that out. You said that's on LinkedIn, is that right?
It's on LinkedIn and it's on Facebook.
Awesome. We'll definitely check out your Music Monday.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And I'm a listener while Jared is a player and listener. So that's always pretty cool. I don't have a musical bone in my body, not whatsoever. I could have guitar lessons for the next 10 years and I wouldn't be able to play it. I wouldn't be able to play it for one lick. Coach Dale,
Yeah.
all right, let's get into a little bit about your business and let folks know. I mean, yes, we see a lot of folks that may be coaching in some facet, form, or another, whether it's physical, mental, business, what have you. But why don't we dive in? I really thought your LinkedIn page was really awesome, and you made it really simple, and it grabbed me right away. So could you let our listeners know what it is that you focus? Well, first of all, how you got into what you're doing today, and then what's your focus, and just give us an inside look.
Yeah, so getting into it, that's been a long story. It probably goes back 40 years at least. But just to get into the coaching side of it, it's just been a God journey. He just kept opening doors, and the first few steps, it was like he was allowing me to take the step into that world, and I wasn't even having to pay for it. I mean, my company paid for some training, and I was able to get certified in some assessments and such like that, and then just grew and grew and grew on that type of thing. And but I worked full time up until 2016, even though I got my first paying client. So I was a professional coach in 2011. So so I had a long transition. I kind of say I'm on the slow train when I'm building my business there. But 2016, I went to part time in the IT world. And then since then, I've been just trying to find my niche. How do I fit? How do I really serve people through that? And right now, the way that do that is my phrase is I help you turn your chaos, whatever chaos you have in your world, help you turn that chaos into clarity so that you can then go pursue your calling. So when you have chaos, you don't know which way to go lots of times. That's where I can come alongside, give you some suggestions, let you encourage you to take a step, support you in taking a step. When you take that step, you're now in a different place. And so you see something a little bit different. And as you see something different, you get a little bit more clarity. As you go through that process, your clarity becomes a whole lot more clear. You can then focus on, okay, where do I go going forward from here? And where's my ultimate purpose? What's my why? Why am I even trying to take these steps? Why am I even trying to grow? Whether you're a business owner, whether you're an individual, any of that. So, and I think as business owners, I love the small business audience. And I love how some people think they're solopreneurs, but they've got all these contractors working for them, or they've got, vendors that they work closely with or whatever. Those are all part of your extended team. And so one of the things really like to specialize in is the teamwork aspect. How do you get your team working towards the same vision, going towards the same place? How do you get them all moving in the same direction, hitting the same goals, hitting the same milestones, so that you achieve the goals that you want to achieve?
Incredible. And JT, you want to add to that?
Yeah. So Coach Dale, I really like that advice. So you mentioned that you were with a company and you started training with them. Is that right?
I got my first steps into the coaching world with a company. Yeah, an IT company. So
Very interesting.
yeah,
So was it? So did they make that recommendation? Hey, you'd be a great coach, or was this something that happened organically? Or
it happened organically. I started looking into coaching, and one of the things that I saw was that assessments could be a very useful way. As an IT professional, I had taken probably a dozen DISC assessments, and they were it was just kind of every new job, every new place I was going into. And so finally, I started paying attention to it, because I was always coming out with very consistent results, but they were always not exactly what I felt like was me. And so I kept looking around at different things, got involved with a volunteer organization that was using a DISC type of assessment called the Core Map, and found out that they were actually offering the Core Map certification. I think it was for $2,000, but they included some number of assessments with that. And I went to the company I was working for and I said, hey, what about if we do a trade? You pay the $2,000 and I'll get certified, and then I'll use all those credits that they give us for our people within the company. I didn't really think they'd buy it, but they did. So, it was kind of like that first step into that world was like a no-brainer for me, right?
I find it so interesting. I think there's kind of a common misconception out there that people who get coaching, are not doing as good as other people. Kind of like the misconception that only people with major marriage problems have marriage counseling.
Right.
The truth is I find it amazing when I hear about the type of people who have coaching. Like, for example, I'm with Keller Williams, and Gary Keller, the founder of Keller Williams, he could have retired and lived on a beach 20 years ago, but
Yeah.
to this day, he has two coaches. So I think that's a testament that, no matter what level you reach, you always have blind spots, and there's always benefit to be had by investing in, an outside person to help, come take a look at, your performance and where you want to be and help you get there.
There's always blind spots and there's always mindset issues. Okay. And, I mean, every time you turn around, you're running into a mindset, whether you think you are or not, and then whenever you get to a new place, you hit that point and there's a blind spot where you just don't know what you don't know. So, absolutely. Yeah. I like to actually say that nobody needs a coach, but everybody could use a coach.
I like it.
Okay. And part of it is that coaching, you can get to where you want to get to if you keep putting enough time, effort, and energy into it. Okay. But when you want to get there faster, that's when a coach can really come alongside and help you. A coach accelerates that journey.
I like it. So, do you have any particular type of business that you focus on as far as your target client, or are they quite a variety?
They're really quite a variety, but the thing that's in common is they're always business leaders of some sort. Okay. They may be middle managers, they may be somebody that's just supervising one person, but they always have a leadership bone somewhere in them, right? And when you go back to what John Maxwell says, leadership is influence. And, whether you're a parent or, somebody just out in the workforce or whatever, you probably have influence over somebody. And so just how do you use that? How do you apply that? How do you use it better and more productively? That's what
That's
I can come alongside and help with.
Brent. I think you
Coach.
had a question there.
Yeah, I do, Coach. So when you were making the transition from being employed in your line of work, apologize for the peppers. I do love peppers, but was there
Said
a
this would
fork in
be
the road? When do I really, do I go this way or do I go the way that I've been comfortable over the last X number of years? Did you have a comfort zone or a fork in the road?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I had a comfort zone, and it goes back to probably I don't know what month it was, but it was in around 1992. Okay, and I was in a pretty well-paying job, and we were all out together at lunch, just having lunch with the guys. And one of the things we were complaining about was there had been a benefits cut, right? I mean, they'd taken away something or they added taxes on something or whatever. I forget what it was. But, the conversation had been going around the table for 10 minutes or something. And I basically spoke up and these words came out of my mouth. And I didn't even realize at the moment what I was really saying. But what I said is, guys, we really shouldn't be complaining about this. This is just a job. It's not a career.
Hmm.
Okay. And that was kind of a mental turning point for me in that I realized in that moment, as I said those words, I wanted something more than just a job. I wanted a career. And so that moment, in 2 years, I'd left that company and moved into a completely different role with a smaller company. 2 more years, I'd moved into computer consulting. And then after computer consulting, I just moved into so many other directions, so many other places. Started managing consultants, which is like really like herding cats when you really get down to it. Uh, and so, and then part of that led to setting up taking another fork and getting a part of a startup company, part of a startup technology company in 1999. Now, if you remember, that was in the dot boom, right?
Yep.
And then just a year and a half later, it's a dot bomb, right? I mean, it went way down. Uh, Fortunately, our company actually did pretty well for about 3 years, 3.5 years. But then just some internal bickering and whatever. And I think that internal bickering got me interested in how to deal with people and how to lead teams better. And so that was really kind of the genesis there for me. So.
When you made that decision, and, really, I find it really interesting, and I'm sure our listeners will too. You were speaking before, and then all of a sudden you spoke, and all of a sudden then you listen, like, what did I just say? Well, when you
Mhm.
made that decision on the fork of the road, to whether it's the left turn or the right turn, did you make that decision with your head or your heart?
That was a case where it was with the heart because I knew what my heart wanted. My head was saying, you're in a comfortable job. You can retire here. You can just keep going for the next 20 years and retire early. And the heart was just pulling in a different direction. So, but that's the great thing about a coach when you talk about that stuff. Lots of times, a coach, you're talking with them and whatever, and you'll say something like that and you won't even realize it, but the coach will because your voice changed or your inflection changed or something like that. And a good coach will pick that up and said, now, wait a minute, you just said blah. And when they hear it back from an external source, or in my case, when I heard it come out of my mouth, it's like, oh yeah, I really did need to hear that. And most of the time that is a heart reaction. That's not really a head reaction. You're bypassing the head at that point.
There's a reason why the heart is considered one of the strongest muscles in the body.
Hmm.
That's
Absolutely.
right. Jared?
Yeah. So, Coach Dale, you're in the same area, general area as us, Dallas area. I
Hmm.
believe McKinney. Is that right?
I am in McKinney. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, do you do a lot of your coaching virtually, um, or do you meet in person, or if someone was wanting to hire you?
Yeah. Before COVID, I probably did about 75% of mine virtually.
Okay.
Okay. And about 25%. And that percentage has actually gone down since COVID. So yeah,
So
I probably do 5 to 10% in person now.
in
So
person.
yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But I mean, I've actually coached people in Germany. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's
So
with the
cool.
internet, you can do almost anything.
Well, I think we have some listeners in Germany, don't we, Brent?
Yeah, we do. Yep, we certainly do.
Small
We'll
world, huh?
pick up a few more. It's awesome.
Mhm.
It's very
Coach Dale,
good.
do you see recurring challenges with, you mentioned that you tend to coach business leaders. Do you see recurring traits, recurring challenges that they have that you're able to help uncover?
The recurring challenges that I see in business leaders are just a reflection of the recurring challenges in the general population. Okay. And really, it gets down to that heart issue. Are you following your heart? Okay. That's number one. And number two, are you doing it in an emotionally intelligent way? In other words, are you doing it through your heart as opposed to through your head? Okay. Because when you do that head stuff and you try and do the rational or the logical or the part that, if the emotions have taken over and you're in that fight or flight, freeze or appease type of state, okay, you're not going to make the right decision. And so sometimes you have to back off and say, okay, I've got to get back to myself and I've got to know who I am and where I'm coming from, where my center is. And so a lot of the work I do with leaders or with non-leaders is around helping them understand at a core who they are, what their needs are, what their blind spots are, just because of who they are, and how to go forward. And one of the things I use in doing that is an assessment called the Clifton Strength, formerly called the Gallup Strength Finder. Now, a whole lot of people have taken that and they've gotten the book and they've gotten the results and they list their top five at the, that's what comes out of it. It actually has 34 talents. And when you go through all 34 and you really understand how they all work together and how they don't work together, that really does change the whole dynamic. It changed it for me and it's changed it. It's been life changing for a couple of my clients. So it's an amazing assessment when you get right down into it. So, and it's great for teams too.
So, we've had anything from executive CEOs to aspiring high school entrepreneurs that probably are growing up in a family of entrepreneurs, a wide mix, and our listeners represent that
Mhm.
for just those reasons. And we don't like to pocket ourselves. I think there's so much to be learned, and we started this coach on the basis. So when we started doing this, so year and a half or 2 years ago, it was really focusing on the younger group. They're aspiring. Everyone thinks being an entrepreneur is easy, or maybe it's not so hard. But there are a lot of aspirations out there, which leads me to mentorship and coaching. This comes up often, and I don't know that there's a magical number to it. I've had a coach over the many years I've been in business, and more than one, as a matter of fact. Is there a return on investment that someone can look at and say, okay, I'm going to invest in myself, which is probably the best investment anyone will ever make, period, end of story.
Mhm.
Is there a return on
Mhm.
investment that you talk about or that you've heard in the industry maybe talk about, and maybe that's not a good comparison, but I know those questions come up. They may not be asked right away, but they're dealing
Right.
with it in their head, right?
hmm Yeah, well, there's all kinds of things out there that show return on investment of coaching. The International Coach Federation, which, by the way, I am a ICF certified coach, they publish those types of numbers every year. Okay. And so you can go out to their website, coachfederation.org, and you can find it out there on that. But typically, the return on investment, and this is very conservative because it's like measuring within 1 year type of thing. How
Hmm.
much did I spend this year? How much did I get back this year? Okay. But with a lot of this coaching and a lot of the self development stuff you do, you're now in a much better place next year to go forward and make a lot bigger difference next year. So it's a compound type interest thing. But just these 1 year type things, they're anywhere from getting somewhere around 70% return on investment in 1 year up to 800, 900% return on investment. So,
So,
it is something that you really do, you get your money back. It may not be this year exactly, but it probably will be within 2 years, 3 years at the most.
Go ahead, JT.
uh, goodness, I can't even think of a question.
I got you. All right, Coach. I think that's real. I think that's really big because that comes up in every meeting I've ever been part of, and I'm a big supporter of high quality coaches that have gone through the education, the certification like that you've done. And anyone, again, you can look at Coach Dale Young on LinkedIn. I think it really spells it out. It's really easy for me to see just how professional this man is, as well as he has a great deal of passion and sincerity about himself, which just warms my heart, to be able to see. And it's like having a great teacher.
hmm
We all have at least one or two great teachers that we can talk about in our lives. But as a professional coach, there's a reason why professional athletes have coaches.
Absolutely.
During the season they have their coaches, and then out of season they have their own strength and conditioning, whatever it happens to be. And a lot of them, that they don't talk about it, but a lot of them have a mental coach of some sort. Keep their head straight.
hmm
Life's short, and there's a lot of interference. We've certainly seen that in 2020,
hmm
and but there's a reason. There's a reason for it. Well, I appreciate you joining the show. But before we let you go, we've got to ask you: is there a good read that you suggest? Well, I've got two things, real fast. But one is we always ask everyone: do you have a book that you'd recommend for us and the listeners?
Uh, Absolutely. First of all, I'll give you one book, which is the one I wrote, which was published in February this year. It's
That's pretty
called
cool.
The
I saw that.
Identity Key.
Yep.
Okay. And it's part of a series that I'm not sure when book 2 is going to show up, but it's in there. It's cooking. I like to say it's crock potting right now. It's in the slow lane on that one. So that's one book. This is really more of a roadmap on things that you can do to answer that question about who am I? Who am I at the core of who I am? So it's almost like a roadmap of that. So that's one book. The other book that I found very interesting here recently is called The Power of When.
Yep.
WHEN, The Power of When. And it's written by a guy that he calls himself the sleep doctor. Okay, and it talks about your chronotypes and how you get into certain times of the day based on your chronotype, and you'll have lulls and you'll have highs and you'll have periods when you can analyze and you'll have periods when you can create and things like that. And so, he actually talks about the best time to go to the bathroom, best time to have sex, all that sort of kind of stuff based on your chronotype. So it's a very interesting read.
Most definitely, and that one would go deep. But I can tell you what, I'll pick up both because anytime we have a guest recommend a book on here, I pick them up, and whether it's Audible or cover, my library is getting pretty big in the office, but it is. I take that to heart because if someone's going to take the time to recommend that, that's awesome, and I don't think we could ever get enough. But the power of when, that sounds interesting. That might
It
be
is a
a
very, very interesting read. It sure is.
Very,
And
very, very cool. But aside from that, Coach, we know you're busy. You've had a crazy busy day, and appreciate your flexibility and in alignment with both Jared and I joining us on episode number 82 of Breaking Business Barriers. You're the epitome of why we exist and why we're passionate about talking about whether it's coaching, whether it's personal improvement, all of those things. Again, everyone, you can find Coach Dale Young anywhere on the internet. You know, the Google go ahead and go there. But I happen to be a LinkedIn lover, and if you really want to find a good summary of who Coach is and what he's been about, and looking forward to that next book, though. You know, as you crockpot that, you'll have to maybe when you get ready to unleash the next one. I think we've had 4 guests this year that have released books within the year, which is pretty cool.
mhm,
And
mhm.
we have another one coming back here real soon. His book hit a Times bestseller real fast, and the author you'd be surprised where this author came from. And I met him in prison, by the way. I didn't go to prison, but for one day as a volunteer. Okay, just make that clear. But it was
Okay.
one of the most incredible days of my life. I saw and met some people that I never would have otherwise, but also met some lifelong friends that were there were I don't know 15, 20 of us that were volunteers that day and spent an entire day there. But met really because of it. Coach Dale, again, our pleasure. On behalf of Brent Duhaime and Jared Ty, we really appreciate you joining us, and maybe we can have you back one day, and maybe we can get into a little further about coaching and get out of this 2020 year, because I think 2021 for a lot of people will be a breakout year for no matter what, putting 2020 behind it.
Hey, JT.
Appreciate you, man, as always, and I appreciate my peppers popping up. I have an idea. I figured this out while we're going along here. What's going on? I got 2 mics fighting one another, but on behalf of Jared, Ty, and Brent Duhaime, Coach, appreciate you joining episode number 82 of Breaking
Onward.
Support, everyone.
Thank you guys. Enjoyed it.
It was an honor.
Take care.